Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I want to welcome everybody to the last JJPOC meeting of the year. Not the last one for the programs, but for the last one for 2024. I hope everybody's got all their Christmas shopping done and everything and are ready for a happy holiday. Um, I want to say that today we're going to do some of the recommendations from some of the subcommittees, and then we're going to hold a couple too. So we will start first with um, going through the minutes first. And are there any changes or anything to the minutes that were before us from last meeting? Okay. With that, may I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion to accept the minute.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Second, thank you. Um, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any, any opposition? No. Minutes have passed. Thank you. Okay. Going on, Brittany.
So just a reminder, this is a voting meeting, asking all who are also online to remain on mute. But the voting protocol for the JJPOC is there must be a quorum of at least 21 members. There is. Each JJPOC member appointed in statute has one vote on each recommendation. The recommendations will be presented to you all with the opportunity for appointed members to offer friendly amendments. After the committee comes to a consensus on any friendly amendments, the vote will take place. Paul from the Tell Youth Justice Institute will call roll announcing committee member names and/or their designees. And for committee members joining in person, when called, you will need to turn on your microphone and vote for, against, abstain, yay, nay, or abstain for the recommendation. For committee members joining virtually, you will need to turn on your camera and unmute yourself on Zoom and submit your vote. Consensus shall be reached through a majority of members voting yay. And our,
Sorry. Thank you. I wonder, do we need to identify the people that are voting? We've done that before so that we make sure that we know exactly who is voting.
Yep. Paul, would you be able to call out the names of, do a quick roll call of everybody who is designated as a voting member, please?
Sure, yeah, I will call your name, and if you are here virtually or in person, please let me know if you will be voting. One moment. Rep. Tony Walker,
Here.
Jeffrey Beckham, Daniel Karpowitz, Matthew Ritter, Anthony Nolan,
Here.
Martin Looney, George Cabrera, Gary Winfield, Stephen Staffstrom, Christina Quaranta,
Here.
John Kissel, Melanie Dykes, Craig Fishbein, Cece Marr, Erica Bromley,
here.
Liz Linehan, Thea Montanez,
Here.
Lisa Seminara, Macklin Roman, Ann Dufanis, Patrick Callahan, Matt Lesser, Hector Glenn,
Here.
Jillian Gilchrist,
Here.
Lisa Seminara, Paul Cicerella,
Here.
Jay Case, Martha Stone,
Here.
Catherine Austin, Bernetta Henry, Eric Berthel, Tammy Nuzio, Greg Howard, Elizabeth Bizzuto,
Here.
Richard Robinson, Tammy Nguyen O'Dowd,
Here.
Gary Roberge, Ty Erickson,
Here.
Renee Semino,
Here.
Patrick Griffin, Sharmise Wolcott, Jody Hill Lilly,
Here.
Angel Quiros, Michael Pierce,
Here.
Charlene Russell Tucker, Charles Hughes,
Here.
Nancy Navarrete, Amy Maracino,
Here.
Dante Bartolomeu.
Eric Higgins on behalf of Dante Bartolomeo.
Thank you. Andrea Barton Reeves, Talitha Coggins, Manisha Juthani, Colleen Violet,
Here.
Neil Dreif, Josh Bernager, Fernando Spagnolo, Varen Bollier, Derek Gordon,
Here.
Vincent Candelora, Stephen Abagnaro, Kevin Kelly, Gwendolyn Samuel, Christina Guillot,
Here.
Natasha Pierre,
Here.
Reverend Dancy, Tawny Cooper Smith, and Betty Ann McDonald. Thank you. That's the roll.
Hi, this is Talitha Coggins. I do apologize. I missed my name here on behalf of Andrea Barton Reeves, Commissioner for Department of Social Services.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's just to identify because we want to make sure that those people that are supposed to be voting are identified. Okay, Brittany?
Sure. So we'll move forward to the first set of recommendations that are coming out of the Community Expertise Work Group. And this recommendation is to an effort to move forward with filling the seats of the two young people who right now currently in statute, there is an opening for two young people to be appointed to the JJPOC. This statute would allow, the edit to this statute would allow the Community Expertise Work Group to fill the seats with two young people.
Is there any discussion? If not, roll call.
So we'll be taking a vote on the Community Expertise Work Group's recommendations. Tony Walker,
Yes.
Daniel Karpowitz,
Yes.
Anthony Nolan,
Yes.
Christina Quaranta,
Yes.
Melanie Dykes,
Yes.
Erica Bromley,
Yes.
Thea Montanez,
Yes.
Hector Glenn,
Yes.
Jillian Gilchrist,
Yes, sorry about that. Yes.
Paul Cicerella,
Excuse me, I have to go back. Jillian, you have to turn your camera on, please. There you go.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry. You'd think I'd know. My child was calling at the same time. Yes. Sorry about that, everyone.
Thank you.
Paul Cicerella,
Yes.
Martha Stone,
Yes.
Elizabeth Bizzuto,
Yes.
Tammy Nguyen O'Dowd,
Yes.
Gary Roberge, Ty Erickson,
Yes.
Renee Semino,
Yes.
Sharmise Wolcott,
Yes.
Jody Hill Lilly,
Yes.
Michael Pierce,
Yes.
Charles Hughes,
Yes.
Amy Maracino,
Yes.
Alberto Cajias,
Yes.
Talitha Coggins,
Yes.
Colleen Violet,
Yes.
Derek Gordon,
Yes.
Christina Guillot,
Yes.
Natasha Pierre,
Yes.
Reverend Dancy,
Yes.
Betty Ann McDonald. Thank you. That concludes the vote on the Community Expertise Work Group recommendations.
Representative Walker, I do see Senator Winfield is on now, so I wasn't sure if he wanted to, if we wanted to add him to the list as well.
Senator Winfield?
Yes. Senator Winfield in the affirmative.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Erica. Moving right along, we go to the Education Work Group. On the Education Work Group, there are 3 recommendations. On the 3 recommendations, do we want to go one by recommendation at a time, or do we want to do them all at one time?
I think everybody had time to read them. They were sent early enough to go all at once. That would require a up and down line vote on all 3.
Yeah. Let me take a poll here very quickly. Does everybody, all those in favor of doing each recommendation individually, please identify by just an aye. One eye?
Yeah.
Okay. So we will do all the education one as one vote. Thank you. All right. Amy, would you like to just give us an overview of your 3 recommendations, please?
Sure. Thanks
Mhm.
very much, Madam Chair. These recommendations are really just very minor amendments to existing statutes. And the goal is just to make sure that we're providing information about what are the current efforts to improve rates of chronic absenteeism in schools. So particularly if districts have 10% or higher rates of chronic absenteeism in schools, there is to be a mandated attendance review team to take a look at what is going on. We want to find out what is happening on those teams. And again, this is already mandated in statute. We're just trying to attach a little bit of responsibility on reporting. And then if the State Department of Education has in statute right now that it is supposed to put together what is called a chronic absenteeism intervention plan for use by districts, we would like to see what is that plan and what is the efficacy of its use. That's pretty much it. We also want to collaborate and work together with the State Department of Education to come up with metrics to make sure they're in compliance and agreement on whatever we're collecting, but we really want to just make sure that what is already in statute is working and that we have some information about it, both from the State Department of Education and from districts going back to the State Department of Education, and then eventually, of course, to the public.
Continue.
That's really it.
That's
Yeah.
all 3 of them?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much a summary of it. So
Okay.
again, you guys can see it's just 2 very minor amendments on reporting and then a collaborative effort to work with the State Department of Education. And that's the 3rd one.
Thank you. All right. Any objections, any discussion?
Walker, thank you. Currently, the Connecticut State Department of Ed collects data from districts monthly relative to chronic absenteeism. We report it on our dashboard, but if it supports the operations and the attention of this group, we could propose a recommendation that would be tweaked slightly that would provide in report form those data to this body to understand the progress around chronic absenteeism. Furthermore, districts already, in many cases, will put together a plan relative to their Alliance District funding under the category of climate. that identifies how they're approaching chronic absenteeism if that is an area of concern amongst their students. We could also furnish the goals and indicators in the plan that the district has put together so that, again, this body can be informed of those plans and the operations that districts are taking to reduce chronic absenteeism.
Amy?
So I think the committee's recommendations are, hopefully as specific as possible. So the amendments to the statute were, one, to take a look at if these mandated attendance review teams are going forward, and that is for every school district that is over a 10% district-wide rate of chronic absenteeism. There are some additional ones that pertain to particular schools having very high rates, but in general, that is the requirement. We just want to take a look at what is happening in those already mandated attendance review teams, and all that we're asking is that that is reported back to the State Department of Education. As it pertains to the second proposed recommendation, and that is to the use of the intervention plan, it seems, according to the statute, that that is to be provided by the State Department of Education to the districts. So I guess the question would be, it sounds like you're referring to something that the districts are coming up with on their own, and we're asking, what is the State Department of Education's authorized chronic absenteeism plan that it is, or intervention plan thereof, that it is requiring that the districts use?
Thank you. And just to be specific, yes, that is what I was suggesting, is that when districts create that as a target of their Alliance District Plan, for example, that we would be able to present that information to this group. I will say that during the Education Working Group conversation, there was some concern relative to some of the individuals in that group who are closest to the work, members from our Connecticut Association of School Superintendents, as well as members of special education advocacy groups, did raise concern relative to another data collection tool. What's that going to do to actually effectuate reducing chronic absenteeism? So the recommended amendment is, if the data is still important, we would hope to be able to provide that and assist this group in getting that information if need be, and then continue to work with our districts and the individuals on the ground to make sure that the actions that they're taking are actually resulting in a reduction that we've seen over year for the last 2 school years, and of a reduction of chronic absenteeism statewide. Thank you.
So, that is correct, that there has been, membership has certainly sympathized with data collection and onerous requests for school districts. And I think this committee is sensitive to the fact. But I think it remains that everyone on this committee can take a look at what the specific amendments that have been proposed are in these 2 sections of the statute. And they are in bold, and they are very small amendments, and they are really there so that the actual robust legislation that has been passed in Connecticut and that is on the books is to make sure that this is actually happening. And this is the most straightforward way that we can think of to make sure that this is in effect. It's trying to stop saying, well, we have a huge and tremendous problem with chronic absenteeism in schools, especially after the pandemic, and to take a look and say, what have we mandated? Is it working? What are the effects? And then we can move forward from there. But without that information, then we're putting things on the books that we have no idea whether it's actually happening or not.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. John Fresnelly, State Department of Education. Districts use those teams and use the conversation in those teams to look at their data, and they use that data to make changes to initiatives and programs and the work they're doing to improve regular attendance by students. We have a very high touch with Alliance districts. We also have a really high touch with most of our liaisons who work in attendance in the districts. We have something called Talk Tuesday, which is every other week. We get together with liaisons and we talk about the things that they're doing and how that's impacting attendance. The last one we had last Tuesday, we had 130 districts participate. What we're suggesting is we're getting the data, we're working with districts, the numbers are trending in the direction based on the work that's happening, building relationships with leaders in schools to recognize the importance of this issue. And what we're asking is not to create another data collection, because whereas the language is simple, creating a data collection, a new data collection, we don't believe is necessary based on the number of ways in which we collect data and work with districts. And again, we're now collecting attendance data monthly, which lets us know where things are going on a monthly basis.
And just to share a representation of what these plans could look like, because I think in the spirit of gathering the information to best inform this group, I'm just going to quickly read if I may. This is a target of one of our school districts within those plans, a focus on implementing student support team meetings at the secondary level to identify students falling within the early warning indicators by discussing student progress, analyzing collected data, and the impact of reducing chronic absenteeism. Also, the district will participate in the Connecticut Department of Ed opportunities for district leaders and staff to better understand and develop systems to reduce chronic absenteeism. And every school will conduct bi-weekly chronic absenteeism meetings under the guidance of the Director of Equity and Inclusion and Assistant Superintendents. In addition, strategies will be aligned with those efforts under the LEAP grant to ensure continuity. The rationale is to continue to respond to the elevated chronic absenteeism rate utilizing a systems approach and a systematic approach that identifies and intervenes with individual student level to reduce chronic absenteeism. That's one district's illustration at a high level of their strategy. And again, I think that's the information partially that we would like to be able to support so we know what's going on in the districts. Absolutely.
In spirit of what we do here at the Circle in JJPOC, we extract information from different agencies and different groups and organizations, and we bring it here and we share that information with the members because the other part is we have silos that get developed where one group may know about something and another group doesn't. So when we don't bring all the data that we need to sort of blend in, how are we addressing chronic absenteeism? How are we addressing behaviors? How are we addressing other things that go on in another system, which is Department of Education? It isolates it so that nothing really gets blended together. This is collection of data that you are collecting. You already said that before. This is data that we would be incorporating in our discussions with our committees. It's no different than anybody else's data that we collect from Court Supported Services Division, Department of Children and Families, any other organization that is part of the Circle. This is how we make sure that we don't do things in a vacuum. So on that spirit, I think this is something that should be brought because we always seem to come back to education and what's going on in the school systems. And we will never make progress until we have all the information at one time. So for that, I will just say that we will go for a vote. If you want, you can vote against it. But I would hope that you understand that the spirit of this whole program is trying to make sure that we get all information and not one isolated circumstance. Okay? Daniel?
May I?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair Walker. As I'm trying to focus in on the gap between, where we're at here collectively, it's sounding to me, and I just appreciate, I know that with time limited, is this the difference between reporting on plans and activities as distinct from reporting on effects and outcomes? That's my question, and I would love just to take the time to
So perhaps this will clarify. I believe it was the intention of this working group simply to find out, for example, as it pertains to the attendance review teams. These are teams that everyone can see by statute are a collaboration of a number of different individuals who may be involved in the school districts and working with children. So the data request for school districts could be as simple as a one-page form that goes into some explanation as to what the attendance review team looks like in that district, what efforts have been made, and of course, also providing the data on the effects that it already does to the State Department of Education. As it pertains to the second amendment, and that is about the chronic absenteeism intervention plan, to my reading, this is a plan that is to be produced by the State Department of Education for use by school districts. So the working group and the committee has an interest in seeing what is this intervention plan. If there are more than one, that can also be offered.
So the districts, when they hit the threshold of 10% chronic absenteeism, have to establish that attendance team to take a narrow focus on what they can do to reduce that further. These recommendations would just make those actions, when that threshold is hit, reported. That's essentially what's occurring here. So it would mean a data collection for our districts. They would have to assemble that information, and as Amy is sharing, in a simplified form, it could be a one, and then they would have to report to us. We would then report to you all. Right. The recommendation around the revision to it would simply say that we have this information in certain pockets, not consolidated, and we could assemble that, therefore not requiring every single district to have an additional reporting tool. I will be upfront in saying that not all districts have Alliance District plans, though, and I think that's what Amy was talking about. Not all districts have them, because not all districts are Alliance districts. So it would not be complete data sets. If there was a small district in a random part of the state that hit that 10% threshold, we still may not have that plan unless this proposal went through, if that makes sense.
Would somebody turn off their phone, please? Thank you. Thank you. I agree. I mean, the Alliance districts are the ones that most often come up with issues, and we have had some things that have set in place, and we still seem to be going around the same circles. So by having maybe another set of eyes, it's going to help us to maybe come up with a different way that can address it and help it going forward. Okay. Yes. Thea, do you have something? Oh, no. Okay. Any other comments? Questions? Okay, moving on to the vote. Thank you.
Great. So this is a vote for the education recommendations. Tony Walker,
Yes.
Daniel Karpowitz. Daniel Karpowitz.
I wish that exchange had clarified for me the gulf between these two sides. I vote to abstain.
Anthony Nolan,
Affirmative.
Gary Winfield,
Sorry, I couldn't get my thing off mute. Senator Winfield in the affirmative.
Christina Quaranta,
Yes.
Melanie Dykes,
Yes.
Erica Bromley,
Yes.
Pia Montanez,
No.
Hector Glenn,
Yes.
Jillian Gilchrist,
Jillian Gilchrist, yes.
Paul Cicerella,
Paul Chagro votes yes.
Martha Stone,
Yes.
Elizabeth Bizzuto,
Yes.
Tammy Nguyen O'Dowd,
Yes.
Gary Roberge, Ty Erickson,
Yes.
Renee Semino,
Yes.
Sharmise Wolcott,
Abstain.
Jody Hill Lilly,
Abstain.
Michael Pierce,
Yes.
Charles Hughes,
Abstain.
Amy Maricino,
Abstain.
Alberto Cajias,
No.
Talitha Coggins,
Abstain.
Colleen Violet,
Abstain.
Derek Gordon,
Yes.
Christina Guillo,
Yes.
Natasha Pierre,
Yes.
Ray Dancy,
Yes.
and Betty Ann McDonald. Thank you. That concludes our vote on the education recommendation.
Next, we go to the diversion.
Good afternoon. My name is Thea Montanez. I co-chair the diversion committee with Dr. Lisa Simone. And in developing the 3 policy recommendations that we'll share with you, I just want to first acknowledge and express my gratitude, our gratitude to the members of the diversion committee, many of you which are around the table, for the time and energy you've spent and the efforts of those in the past to try to push forward youth diversion reform. So we had 3 goals in mind in creating these policy recommendations. The first was to promote positive youth practices. The second was to restore harm caused by misdemeanor offenses. And the third was to set up a network of supports that are informed by best practices to meet the needs of all young people in the state of Connecticut, regardless of where they live. And so it was in that spirit that we created, in partnership again with many members around this table, the 3 policy recommendations. The first being number 1, all municipalities and or their municipal agents be responsible for operating a youth diversion team, also known as juvenile review boards, and that they should report to the Department of Children and Families on an annual basis and report data related to youth being diverted and outcomes of diversion as per DCF requirements.
The second recommendation states that no later than December 1st, 2025, Police Officer Standards and Training Council, better known as Post Council, should work in partnership with the JJPOC co-chairs and or their designees and representatives from the Community Expertise Work Group to develop a proposed statewide uniform youth diversion policy for the consideration of Post Council. Recommendation number 3. No later than December 1st, 2025, Post Council should work in partnership with the JJPOC co-chairs and or their designees and representatives from the Community Expertise Work Group to develop a proposed youth diversion training curriculum for consideration as part of its accreditation requirements for all local law enforcement. Thank you.
Are there any discussions, questions? Yes.
Yes, on behalf of the Department of Children and Families, I'd like to really just commend the chairs, Thea Montanez and Dr. Lisa Simone, for the process of the decision-making for this work group. Really is an epitome of partnership. And so we appreciate you all for everything that you did to get to these recommendations.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Questions, comments? Representative Noah?
I just want to say how glad I am to see that the Community Expertise Work Group, along with the JJPOC chairs and the designees, are going to be working all together. It's real important, I think, for that group to partake together, and it's not just structured towards leaders that usually or normally make decisions. I think adding all 3 together is a great thing. So I just wanted to mention that. And being on the committee, I'm very proud how the committee worked together to bring these recommendations forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, go right to the vote.
Perfect. We will take a vote on the diversion work group recommendations. Tony Walker,
Yes.
Daniel Karpowitz,
Yes.
Anthony Nolan,
Affirmative.
Gary Winfield,
Senator Winfield, in the affirmative.
Christina Quaranta,
Yes.
Melanie Dykes,
Yes.
Erica Bromley,
Yes.
Thea Montanez,
Yes.
Hector Glenn,
Yes.
Jillian Gilchrist,
Jillian Gilchrist, yes.
Paul Cicerella,
Yes.
Martha Stone,
Yes.
Elizabeth Bizzuto,
Yes.
Tammy Nguyen O'Dowd,
Yes.
Gary Roberge, Ty Erickson,
Yes.
Renee Semino,
Yes.
Sherma East Wolcott,
Yes.
Jody Hill Lilly,
Yes.
Michael Pierce,
Yes.
Charles Hughes,
Yes.
Amy Maricino,
Yes.
Heberto Cajias,
Yes.
Heriberto Cajias,
Yes.
Talitha Coggins,
Yes.
Colleen Violet,
Yes.
Derek Gordon,
Yes.
Christina Guillot,
Yes.
Natasha Pierre,
Yes.
Ray Dancy,
Yes.
Betty Ann McDonald. Thank you. That concludes the diversion work group recommendation vote.
Thank you. Can we get the tally for the first?
Yes, the community expertise work group tally is 30 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain, and 16 not present.
Thank you. Can I get for the second, education?
Education is 21 yes, 2 no, 7 abstain.
Thank you. And the third?
We are still working on the third, and I'll get that to you
Okay.
momentarily.
So how's everybody's shopping going? I want to thank everybody for their participation. I know this is a very hard thing for people in many ways and many circumstances. But the one thing that I hope everybody understands is nothing in change is going to be easy. And we all have to sort of stick to the important parts that we know are necessary in order to really help our children in the state of Connecticut. We realize that we all have positions and we all have foundations that we have to report to, but I think I also ask you to remember from your heart what is the best thing for our children more than anything else, because if we don't do it, nobody else will. And it's taken a long time to get here, and we have a long way to go. So with that, I thank everybody for their work. And I thank you for your participation in the subcommittees. I know that's really hard. Trust me. I know that. So, and if there are situations that might have that need some clarity, I hope that you feel free to contact either Erica, Brittany, or Undersecretary Karpowitz or Representative Walker, and talk about them. Don't shy away from it just because it might be a challenge, but we come up with the best compromises when we do that. And that's what I hope I should expect from everybody here. I will always do that too. So we have a tally now?
We do.
Good.
It was 30 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain, and 16 not present for diversion.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So with that, I'm going to say, are there any other questions or anything? Also, just a couple of things of notes. Some people forget sometimes. We are a policy body. We're not an appropriations body. We do not do appropriations in this committee. We can do recommendations, but we do not do that. That is left to the Appropriations Committee and the General Assembly and the Governor's Office. So therefore, if people really wanted to see dollars, that this is not the committee for that. And also, I want to remind people that we have some very tough times coming up in this spring. Once the session gets going, we have a lot of learning that we're going to have to go through with how we will interact with Washington and funding. And Connecticut is definitely going to be affected, I'm sure. So we all have to realize there are a lot of things that people want, and we have to be cognizant of that because the state has a lot of requirements. So with that, I ask everybody to have a wonderful evening, and you're getting out early. Happy weekends. Thank you. And have a great holiday. I'm sure we won't be talking before then, I hope. Have a good day. Bye.